The Flyin Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flyin Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be in a cash player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club, you play for the fans.
Jersey swap, car of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Flyin Lion Podcast. Thanks again for joining us for this episode. Not a great one in terms of result for FC Cincinnati, but we roll on. Sam, how are we feeling tonight?
Yeah, we're feeling good, right? As far as for me, feeling good. Obviously, coming off a loss, you're not feeling as good, but it's one of those things that we'll get into that we kind of expected a tough game, and that's what we got, right? It wasn't anything that was surprising, really, but it's just another kind of. Nobody takes a loss well, right? I think that's what we're all just saying there, and happy to be talking here at the end of the episode about coming back home, TKO Stadium, and moving past this one.
Yeah, if we look prior to that, we had won 5 games in a row. We were feeling real good about it, but like you said, NYCFC away, playing in a baseball stadium. We always kind of regret, or I guess hate looking at the fact that we have to go there, I should say. So we'll recap this match, and then second part of the episode, like Sam said, we'll touch on some other points. It's not all going to just be a review of this game. We do have some pretty big talking points that we want to kind of bring up that came out of this. So we'll get into that as well. But yeah, like I said, so this game is played at Citi Field, so home of the Mets. I think I kind of have bad vibes, from the playoffs, Sam, if we go back and kind of look at that from last year. But we go back to Citi Field. It's a rainy game, which is always brutal. I hate to see the sod that's rolled out. I think we had 11 different guys at some point that had slipped, on the pitch. So I really thought about that being my card, but it's so predictive. But yeah, it was just kind of brutal to watch. And for those there, sorry, but thanks for being there, as a supporter. Lineup wise, Sam, there's always something with this squad. It feels like, I think middle of the week, we got everyone back for a solid 2 days.
Yeah, if that, yeah.
And then it was oh, well, actually, Bucha shows up, not in training one day. And then we come to the match day, and it's oh, Obi actually picked up a knock in training as well. So you kind of look at the midfield and you go, man, oof,
yeah.
Woof, right, exactly. So, you have Roman there, you have Engel, Hagelin, Miazga, and Robinson. So for 3 matches in a row, I think I had tweeted out, we have those guys in Yedlin. But then we did have Anunga, and we welcome back Yuya Kubo to the starting 11. And then our typical 3 with Evander, Orishano, and with Denke. But interesting, Sam, with Kubo coming back in after being off for several weeks. His last game you had put in here was March 22nd against Atlanta. So did that kind of play into what was going on in this match? For very first 10 minutes of the game, we just kind of got eaten up by the NYCFC energy, and it almost felt like the guys were still out in Times Square or something from the night before. But it just was kind of that brutal beginning to the match, and I wonder, we'll kind of get into our talking points about it, if the midfield had anything to do with that. I think from my standpoint, yes. How narrow of a pitch this is. You have to play congested, small-sided games, and it was a tough one to watch in that standpoint. But like we mentioned, so Bucha was out on concussion protocol, and then like we were saying, Matt Miazga comes back, 3 straight starts in a row for him, even though he only goes about 65, 68 minutes in this one. Any thoughts, Sam, in this lineup? That was a long-winded way of announcing that, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, lineup-wise, back line is what we've expected, like you said, the past couple of games, being consistent there, but then you approach the midfield and you just, we're missing, not only, Bucha, but also still Obi as well. We were hoping to have him back, but I think if you're everybody that saw that lineup come out and you see Bucha's not in it, or at least, you saw that he was questionable, right, for it, you kind of look at it, you go, oh, geez, our record without him this year, not so good. So definitely a big headache right there that you're having to deal with if you're Pat, to go into the match day, right? In a away match, in a tight field, in a place where you don't like it's not the fact that it's, super tough to play there and the fans. No, like physically, like the dimension, like it's very tight and tough and it sucks because that's not the style of play that we play, right? And if you're coming into this game tactically, Ryan, this game should have been won on certain set pieces that we had, right? And we don't have the ability to, put set pieces in the back of the net with our heads or anything. So, yeah, like you said at the beginning of the game, we saw it right away that, NYCFC very comfortable, in tight spaces. They go back and forth between Yankee Stadium and Citi Field, right? So they are very comfortable with playing that style, and it takes a while. It always, I mean, what, season after season, right? It kind of like takes a minute for FC Cincinnati to get going in this atmosphere. I know, was it last year when Lucho he came in as a sub, right? When it was away? Or was that 2 years ago?
I can't remember. I think you might have. Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
I think he came in and scored those 2 goals, and it was like, man, like it took a while for like us
Right.
to get going.
Right.
Well,
Well, the slow starts there, especially like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think like you practice in it. I think Carter had even tweeted out like they moved the cone dimensions in a little bit for them to kind of get used to that.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, what excuse do you want to say this time about it? At some point, like they just have to go out and play. And
Yeah.
I think if you're kind of looking at like what went wrong is like the leaders have to have a good message, or, hey, I don't care where we're playing, what environment, fans there, not there, raining, sunshine, like you got to show up and you can't be comfortable. And they've won 5 in a row. They haven't always looked, the best at it during that stretch, but you obviously are kind of riding that kind of confident high, and then you overlook a team maybe in the first 10 minutes and they get a goal in the 9th minute, Sam. Like we saw even prior to that, Roman had to make 3 saves or maybe even 4 in the first half. But the 9th minute, there was a bad giveaway. I'm going to call it out on Orishano on this one. It was kind of on a break. He tries to play Evander centrally, and it's just, I was always taught again, square balls. They're gonna lead to problems, and it did in this one. The midfielder steals it. It was kind of unfortunate. I think their player that was running up kind of in the break cuts it back, and I think Robinson does get a touch on it. It falls right to their guy. So I think our left, I think it was Angle, and I think on that side to Hagelin, they didn't have enough time to kind of react
Yeah,
to
they
that
didn't have time to
deflection.
step. Yeah.
The guy just hits it one time. It was a nice finish into the bottom corner. But you go down again within 10 minutes, and we'd done that several times, I think, early on in the season. Luckily, like I think against Nashville, we were able to come back fairly quick after that. But then you stack that goal, you go down, and then you stack that on top of the 12th minute, which if you go back and look at this play, NYCFC is just playing so direct, in the first half on this one. And an interesting note, I was, listening to the broadcast a little bit as well because I want to hear Tommy G talk about it. But NYCFC had shifted their formation to go to kind of mirror us with the 3-back system. So they kind of shifted it up. They still were playing very direct. And in this play, the midfielder plays a long ball over the top. And I'm wondering, Sam, if they had seen some of the Chicago Fire game, because it isolated Matt Miazga one-on-one with their player. And Matt just, I don't think he has the closing speed right now, coming off of this injury. And he has to get an arm on him, call it what you want. I think it's probably a PK because of where he's at.
Well, yeah, it's solely because he put regardless of like if you put any pressure on it or not, like you can kind of tell like he kind of fell into it, right? But once again, Matt is in the position of being behind him, and from the rest, vantage point, you put your hand on him, doesn't like you can't see how much pressure somebody's putting on you. So, yeah, I mean, it's a clear and obvious PK, and you're like, all right, here we go. Like, is Roman going to pull some magic out so that way we can stay in this game and it's not even, 15 minutes?
Yeah, and luckily the post helped us in this one. And I think, Roman got lucky with that. But, I mean, the goalkeeper is not going to be mad about that by any means, even if you guess the wrong way. You have the post on your side on this one. So it bounces out and we still feel like we're in the game. I think in that moment, Sam, you get your players, you get your coaching staff, you got to say, that was your chance.
Yeah.
That was kind of the turning point. You have to kind of ride that and say, how can we turn this around? Where can we gain momentum? They just missed a PK. They're going to be down for a minute. How do we pounce on that? And there just was no response. We just continued. I had tweeted it out. We just kept losing the ball in easy situations where we shouldn't.
Yeah, just unnecessary turnovers.
It was just simple balls from the back. Like, I think we really struggle this year when we try to build out and we're, forced to have like one of the outside wingbacks, like we saw it with Yedlin, try to cut up the field and play it to a center midfielder. I really think they were lost in this match without Bucha centrally, because I don't think Kubo kind of knew where to position himself to receive. And then if you're thinking, from their standpoint, well, we know they're not great on the ball right now. They're going to cause some turnovers. We're going to keep pressing them high. And it just kept mistake after mistake. And it was frustrating. So the only way you can kind of counteract that from our standpoint, you don't have width. You got to get speed, and play balls behind. Or like you had mentioned, Sam, earlier on, is on set pieces. So we do see an offside goal that was scored by us that comes off of a corner. It kind of gets bounced around. I think it hits Miazga, and then I think Nunga hits it straight up in the air. Denke, puts it in, but I mean, they were all offside on that. I think NYCFC had a plan and knew that we were dangerous from set pieces, but if you go back and look, like, this is one of, I think, 3 different opportunities on corners, and then if you want to include the Evander free kick where we were dangerous, but it was more off of that than the run of play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, going back to what you were talking about, the lack of cohesion in the middle, this was Kubo's first time playing centrally as a midfielder this year. Like, usually he was playing either as a winger or an attacking mid for us. And, now he's having to drop a little bit further and facilitate. So like you said, just the unfamiliarity. But yeah, I think it was one of those things, at the end of the half there, it looks like we're going to catch a break. But once again, Denke offside, so are, everybody else in that area. And, once again, he leads the MLS in offside, just 13 so far. So,
that means he's testing the back
no,
line.
100%. 100%. Like, you can look at it in different ways, but I think it continues to speak at the lack of cohesion, right? And not being able to time certain things. And I mean, right there, he's just in a bad spot. But
several of them, I think that they do a decent job at pulling their lineup on that.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. And if you pull that one back, then you're feeling better going into half, even though you had a crap half. Like, it's still, possibly at that point 1-1, and that's the way that soccer is.
That's what happened in Nashville, right? We got one right before the half, and it was 1-1 going into half, and different story in the
confidence on that.
Yep.
So, I mean, we do come out, and I really want to kind of give a little bit of props here to Noonan for changing things at half. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, but we switch to 4 in the back, 3 in the midfield, and kind of 3 up top, and split out wide as well. So you can see right away, you get actually Nick Hagelin that comes off at half. You get Santos that comes in. It changes the game. I think we had talked about it in our preview, Sam, was how are we going to stretch the field, get speed, get more physicality, and it changed the way that we look. So not only Santos, but with Dado as well. And I believe Kubo comes off. He only plays, 45 as well. So Dado comes in and within 5 minutes is springing some energy. They look more attack-minded in this setup, in the setting of where it was and how they were playing us, especially if they were going to play 3 in the back. Like, we almost have to mirror the way that they're playing us. And kind of go back against, they had gone to 5 in the back, so then we wanted to switch to have more guys forward. Dado has a good 1-2 with Denke, gets a shot right at the keeper right away. You're feeling like a little bit better about it. But then a couple minutes later, NYCFC is coming down and they almost get an open header. So it really, like you had put in here, it could have been like 3-0 at some point. And what's crazy is, like, I never really felt like we were even like threatening. Like, there was some chances, like 63rd minute, like there's a great ball by Orishano and Anunga does well to get open, but he just puts it over. And if you're saying is like one of our best chances of the match is Brian Anunga, like on offense there, like that's not great. So there's some issues, and the adjustments were good. They weren't great. And I think, like, I love how Pat after the game sometimes will say, like, we had good moments. We just weren't good enough. We didn't finish our chances. Like, that's how you win games. And on the nights where we do score on that, like, we don't kind of nitpick that. But it's the difference between winning, losing, tying. Like, we could have even gotten a point out of this. And I think, good teams on games where they play terribly, it's not going their way. We don't have Bucha in. They find a way to get a result.
To salvage a point.
To at least get a point on the road. 1 point on the road, 3 points at home. And that's where I think I was frustrated with this one, is like, just get one. And so Evander has a chance in the 73rd, a free kick just out, over the top. There was another one, I think, that was deflected that could have gone in, that was right outside the box. We had some chances. It's just, was it great chances? It's questionable. But there were chances. It wasn't like a later match that we're going to talk about, in this episode. But overall, Sam, we lose this one 0-1. It's kind of like
our own medicine right there.
Like, well, could we have done even better with like who we're playing, but you can't overlook people. You can't overlook games. You got to do one match at a time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of deal with what you're in the moment. But so now this puts us in 3rd in the East, 4th in Supporter Shield. You're still in a good position.
Yeah. You're still
you
right
had
there.
5 wins in a row. You won the ones you should. This one is the arguable one where I think we both had agreed, like, it maybe a tie would have been appropriate based on everything we had talked about. But looking at this, I thought this was an interesting stat, Sam, in my overall impressions. This was the first time this season that NYCFC had entered the end of that first half leading. First time they had a lead all season going into half. So again, like, why are we the team to have that? Defense had been doing great lately, and it's just a few lapses in the way that they had kind of come at us. I think it kind of broke down through the midfield, and it kind of led to the floodgates opening, and our defense just kind of wasn't ready for it. And again, it's like a 1-0 game. You didn't get killed, but it feels worse almost.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to get into it, I mean, we could talk about it real quick. The fact that, Matt Miazga, right? Is he quite, like, he's not there, like you said, he's not 100%, but part of me is you watch him, he's holding back a little bit, right? And understandably, like, you've gone through injuries, right, on the soccer field, like, you understand like how it feels to come back, and you will be holding back for a certain period of time just because it is like, you want to be out there, right?
Yeah.
And
I love Matt. I think he's great. He's a great leader. If he's not 100%, and that's like a weak spot that they can exploit, like, that's where I can see, like, it's an issue. And so if like, okay, he can't go full speed, or maybe he's close to full speed, but he has a difficult time slowing down. Think of this environment, Sam. It was raining the whole match. You're playing on a field with sod over a baseball field, so he could potentially get injured on that.
Very little out of bounds
traction.
Well.
Like, yeah, it's narrow, it's physical. And then the guy's only back on his 3rd game. So for me, what I'm kind of leading up to is, like, at halftime, Hagelin comes off instead of Miazga. And I mean, okay, like, you want to kind of build Matt's confidence back, but, like, you got cooked on that PK one. We've seen it a few times now, but then, okay, that's one thing to say, and, like, he can make up for that. It's Matt. Like, we know Matt's great, but you switch to going 2 center backs. That means Matt's got
even more vulnerable. Yeah.
Now he's got to cover way more ground because you don't have that extra cover. So for me, that was a little bit head scratching, and okay, if it's Hagelin versus him for 15 minutes, like, is it that much of a difference? But, like, there's things like that I think can kind of send a message one way or the other. And, like, do people just kind of have their spots, and like, has his pedigree kind of led to that, or does he need to kind of really work his way back into that? That's a different question. But again, love Matt. There's some signs to me physically that he's not all the way there yet. And if he needs that help in that cover, don't let him get isolated one-on-one, like, in those situations, as much as you can help it, right? So yeah, that was a good kind of point. We just wanted to bring that one up. But we also kind of wanted to bring up the fact that, like, hey, is this change in formation something to be considered? We've done it, I think, several times. We've looked at it, especially after some losses. And it's kind of hard to like say it's just on the losses, but that's when we've seen like the shifts occur. When we've gone down in Charlotte, we switched it up. In Philly, I think at one point we switched it up too, to go on 4 in the back. Like, is that only a mechanism that he's willing to deploy in those situations, or
just when we're losing certain guys, or you're
is
not
that
going to
something
get
that you want to really kind of unlock and say this is what we can look like going forward? Because something's got to change in the attack, Sam. I was looking this year, out of our attack, there's only been one game with our XG over 2 goals. Last year, 7 matches out of 37 with an XG over 2 goals. 2023, I mean, there was like 15. So something's got to change, I think. Like, I love the system. We had done well in this system, but I feel like there's something.
Well,
missing.
you saw last year
because Bucha's not there, but overall, I mean, like, does something need to switch?
Yeah, I think the past couple of years, right, we've seen that shift of, I think, we're going all attack, right? And whatever happens on the back end and the back line, like, let that happen. We're just going to score more goals than the other guys, right? I think that was a little bit of 23, just because we didn't have, the depth that we do now, or, wish to have. And now you're playing that way where you're like, okay, like, we will settle for, not having the best attack, but we'll rely on our pressure, and our defense will hold up. And right now, Ryan, the defense isn't holding up, and that's the problem, because
I'd argue
because
the defense is
midfield
holding.
Midfield is collapsing. I'm saying it's
that's
like
the problem. The midfield.
Exactly. Yeah. The midfield is collapsing in there, and it's putting more pressure on the defense, right? You've got to make a 1v1, or Roman, right? Roman, honestly, like, has stood on his head at multiple times this year. Hey, Roman, go ahead and make that 1v1 save, and it's put him on an island to do so, which is not something you want to do. You're a keeper, like, every single game, like 5 different chances. So, I mean, the switch in formation, yeah, it's tough, right? It's tough to figure it out, because, like you said, do we just stick with like one formation, or do we switch it based off the personnel, right? It's a tough call. Like, what kind of like, I don't know, like, team atmosphere do you want to have?
Well, you got to get your best out of your players, and if you see that Dado's playing well, like, you got to find a way to get him on the field. And that means you also have to try to figure out how are you going to get the best out of Luca Orishano. And so I think this is a good way to kind of transition to this, is like, are we ready to have this conversation about Luca? And, like, is it time for him to go to wing back? Like, we had kind of talked about that a little bit the last time, but, like, where's his best spot? He's forcing a lot of things that I think last year he didn't really have to force. And I listened to an interview that Pat Noonan did with the MLS Journeyman, and he talks to Dax McCarty and didn't call out Luca, but basically along the lines said there was a player on his team where we're still trying to, like, figure out how to get the best out of him, and to understand that there's moments when we can force the game and where there's moments where we can let the game come to us. And you have a lot of stars up in that front 3.
Yeah.
Denke, Evander, Luca, like, how do we get the best out of them? And I know I loved hearing it from the start, was like, Evander and Denke, I'm going to feed Denke. I'm going to get him as many goals. Like, they haven't had a single connection. Like, I haven't seen Evander play the ball through to Denke that's led to a goal. We haven't had that. We haven't had, we've had Luca, I think, has done decent. Like, in this game, don't get me wrong, like, his crosses and the corners, amazing. Good free kick, delivery, amazing. But I'm talking, like, even in build-up moments, like, he's been given the ball away. He doesn't kind of know where to play the ball and how to kind of figure that out. So I don't know. There's mixed feelings around. I think I've heard a lot of different opinions about it. Do we switch away even from DeAndre Yedlin, Sam, and put Luca out there to get more out of him? And you lose some in the defense, but you got to gain something down that right side. And we just haven't had the service. I think when Luca looks to cut onto his left foot, we lose the opportunity to play balls into the box. it's an interesting thing. You had a stat I think on this too.
Well, yeah, to your point, that the cut in has become predictable, right, for a lot of teams. And it worked last year, right? And people still knew it was coming, and he was able to take advantage. But like you said, there's a lot of mixed feelings out there with Orishano when you play either, wing back, winger, attacking mid, even forward, all those positions I kind of looked at. And so Orishano played 30 MLS matches, including playoffs in the wingback position at some point in a match in 2024. So, I was counting still, the amount of times he could have like switched back and forth. But this season, he's only played 2 times this season at the position and has yet to play a full match in the wingback position since last year. So our record with Luca Orishano at wingback this year and last year, just in general, is 15, 5, and 12. So that's a 63% chance to get 3 points or 1 point. And then FCC Orishano record at either attacking, mid, forward, or winger, 10, 1, and 6. So it's 65%. So the funny thing is there's mixed feelings because you're getting pretty much the same outcome, right? The same chance of winning statistically at having Orishano at either one of those positions.
Yeah, I mean, at least from the stats, like the thing that changes is like who has been around him.
Well, yes,
and how
yeah,
and is that the best fit? Like we've seen so much good chemistry with him and other players like Lucho in the past. Like something's lacking and it hasn't been resolved, and I think that's an issue. Like it's been 11 games and there's still passes that are errant from him to Denke, and it's like that's got to be cleaned up if you want to be elite.
Absolutely 100% when you're watching the gameplay. But as far as like it shows, like the result, like it's still the same, right? I mean, you could talk about the gameplay all you want, but whether it be last season, Acosta steps up. If, Orishano's not, doing something this year, Denke Evander step up. If Orishano's not, like we've had, those are the reasons.
But Luca hasn't stepped up.
That's exactly what I'm saying, right?
So other people have had to fill a bigger role. I'm just saying, like, at some point, like we're gonna get the best out of him. I'm hoping. I still think
we thought we did last season, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't understand why a simple flip of like having him more on the left, just to see what that looks like. I said it a couple episodes ago. We know like it's been so predictive for him to cut in on his left. Maybe it's driven by the player, but like switch him in Evander for 10 minutes and see how it goes. See if he can drive at people better on his left foot and get better service into the box. I know Evander likes to drift out left more, but like I feel like you have to get more out of him and something's got to flip and do it when like Bucha's there on that left side. Maybe he can feed Luca into space more. And like we had talked about, I think before too, is have Angle get around him. And then you kind of create an overload on that side. That's what my opinion is on it.
So for you, wingback's not an option.
I would love to see him either right wing back, like for a game. And if they want to keep him up front, or let's say Luca's like, absolutely not, at least switch it for 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Give me a little bit of time to see him on the left side and what he can do on his left foot where he doesn't have to cut back. And how does that change the game and the dynamics there? Does that kind of, come to our conversation about formation? Second half, they put him as more of like a winger. So is that even an option? Could we have him more as like a winger there? Who plays the other wing then? We had kind of Santos and Denke play up top. We didn't really have like a left winger. We had Evander play kind of that middle role that floated out wide, but that left a huge gap in the midfield. And so transition periods, there's nobody in there to kind of...
Baird could play wing.
Okay.
But no, I'm not
saying
no,
you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Starts, but
yeah,
he's got the resume to do it.
I see when he comes in, it's just like, well, I hate to say it. It's just like, well, what is his track record when he's been in there? It's hard to like say like I'm feeling so confident about him coming in and changing the match. Yeah. It's tough to see that. But when I see Dado come in, like I see him do things on the offensive end and create more. And I think whether it's getting him more minutes, maybe allow him to play like as a dueling 10 and then put Luca out somewhere. But I think at some point Dado's got to say like, dude, I deserve more minutes. I've shown it when I've come in and I've done everything you've asked me to do. I think he needs another look there as well. So a lot of conversation points that come out of this. The other one, as we mentioned earlier, was like how important Bucha is. And I made him my jersey swap of the week for a reason last week. I hate to say like I'm right because of the fact that he's out of this, but he's got to have, Sam, like the highest wins against replacement if that were an MLS stat.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, this guy, he when he's on the field, we win. I mean, it's plain and simple. I mean, I did the math similar to what I did for Oshano, Ryan, and when Bucha plays in MLS play, including playoffs since 2024, we're 26-6-14, and this season we're 7-1-2. So if he plays, we have a 70% chance of getting a positive result. I mean, that's plain and simple. And until we figure out, who his replacement is, or, when he's gone, injured, something, like this is continuing to be a glaring just hole, right? Because he might be he is, right? The most irreplaceable player on our team.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great shout. You don't have anyone else that can do what he can do in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves a lot of holes and it leaves a lot of the connection through the midfield. Like what does the buildup look like without him? Like, I hate to say it, like Kubo just wasn't doing it in this game. And it's unfair for him to come in after being out for a month and a half and say, like, fill these unbelievable shoes of Pavel Bucha. But like, you got to get better in that spot. And, you see in the second half, I think Dado comes in and tries to play that role because they had no one else to really come in and do it. And I don't think Dado does half bad, but it again leaves the defense vulnerable because, like, he's got the attacking side. Like, it's unfair to ask Dado to go and, give us
because that's not his game.
Box to box.
Yeah.
That's not really what he does. So, yeah, that's the big talking point. How do you fill that backup 8 spot?
I don't know.
U22, do you look at a DP coming in, but where do they play then? Like, do they start?
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately it probably is a U22, right? Like you said, like, but it's got to be one of the best, like U22, like.
Would have been no buck, Sam.
Coulda, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a glaring hole. I feel like they felt like there was good depth there with, Kubo, a veteran. Maybe they could go, dueling sixes for a little while with Anunga and Obi. You're unlucky in this game. You get 2 guys that are out in the blink of an eye, like 2 days ahead of the game, and you're kind of like scrambling to ask Kubo. They probably weren't planning on asking Kubo to start, don't you think?
No, yeah, I'm sure he was supposed to just get 45
in the second half if they needed it. And then he has to start and come in and contribute and be the glue guy that Bucha, has been. So interesting thoughts, and it kind of has exposed a little bit of our weaknesses in the big losses that we've seen. Even when Bucha doesn't play well, the team doesn't play well. In the matches that he hasn't performed well.
If you're gonna take positivity out of this, if you're listening to this podcast, you've listened to past episodes. Yeah. We are phenomenal in May, right? Yeah. That is the glaring positive note in this is just a hiccup in the month of May. You look at Pat's track record in the month of May, April, like we're good. We're usually good. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, again, this was just more of a conversation to say, like, these are the things that we're starting to see. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season now. Like, this is more of a trend than it is just like a one-off type thing. So, yeah, but good point. I think I'm excited for what's to come, and we'll cover that here in the second part. But before we do, trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV, Sam. Now that FC Cincinnati is going back home for this next match on Saturday, they are coming in with a long unbeaten streak. What is the longest unbeaten streak at home in FC Cincinnati history to start the season?
So I definitely know it's 2023. How long it is, it's a great question. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go 16 games because I feel like there was a good stretch there. I'm gonna go 16.
Okay, Sam's locking it in for 16, and we will give you the answer when we are at the very end of the episode. Hey, FC Cincinnati fans, we are pumped to share our 2025 sponsor, Peak Cocktails.
Oh, dude, Peak Cocktails, I absolutely love it. I am so excited to have them as a partner. Ryan, I am sipping right now on the Blood Orange Spritz. It is absolutely amazing. If you're that type of person that wants something subtle, right? Little ginger flavor, this is the one for you. A little bit of a recipe, promotes exercise recovery, enhances the relaxation a little bit. What are you sipping on over there?
Yeah, I got the passion fruit margarita. It kind of fits my dad bod life for that I got going on right now. I'm trying to be a little bit more health conscious and have that lifestyle. But yeah, I could also sip it on the beach, which is nice about it. I mean, you can have that versatility. If you just want it as a nice sip, or if you want it as like a post recovery drink, like this is what Peak is. I mean, we love it. We adore some. I've been following Peak for a couple of years now. But yeah, again, go check out Peak Cocktails. We love them. Next time you're looking for, like we said, any of what we had described, post-workout drink, just a little pick-me-up. If you're drinking on the beach there as the summer's coming up here, go check them out. www.peakcocktails.com and use the code Flyin Lion at your checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Sam, enjoy that drink. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for listening to our sponsor, Peak Cocktails. We are excited now on the flip side to talk about a little bit more positivity here. We're going to bring the vibes on this side. We got a couple of new things going on with FC Cincinnati too. We're going to talk a little bit about, like Sam mentioned, May games. But before we do, we want to hear your card of the week, Sam. What do you got?
Yeah, coming off a loss. So, card of the week time. We're going depressing first.
Doesn't have to be depressing.
Yeah, I guess. So my card of the week is just the fact that for the first time since match day 4, we don't have a player in the team of the match day. And it's just unfortunate. There have only been 2 match days where an FC Cincinnati player was not featured in the starting 11 or on the bench. So Ryan, we kind of got two of our streaks snapped. 7 straight players with a team in the match day appearance, and our 5-game win streak. So just not a good weekend from both standpoints there.
It's kind of like a back-ended jersey swap, like a good thing. It's been an incredible run from 4 until 10. On the fact that, hey, we've had all of these guys that have featured. But yeah, I think we had a nice run going.
In the card, anytime you could throw a card out there and you can kind of humbly flex, right? A little bit afterwards.
True. That's true.
I can't believe,
yeah. Would your backup one be that we're still playing matches on baseball fields?
I once again, it's an easy
one.
Easy card, right? It's there, it'll
always
be there. Yeah. Until they finalize the new stadium.
2027?
Think so. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get more fans of the games too.
Obviously, the rest of MLS has their stuff going up. Ryan, what was your card of the week?
Yeah, my card of the week, Sam, I'm going to give a yellow card. I'm bringing the cards back.
Oh, boy.
We got a yellow card for the Sporting Kansas City versus LA Galaxy game. Considering that Sporting Kansas City wins this match 1-0 without a shot on goal, Sam. How does that happen, you might ask? Well, there was an own goal in the 13th minute. And if we go back and we look at the stats of this game, LA Galaxy still haven't won a match, by the way. And your poll from last week is still up there for grabs. LA Galaxy is 71% possession, 11 shots, 1 shot on target. Sporting KC, 0 XG, 0 shots on target, 0 big chances. Still won the match, Sam. No excuses. We can win even without a shot on goal. That's how bad LA Galaxy is this year.
Well, so Kansas City goes from scoring 5 goals, right? And then they go against us and they put up 1, right?
1.
And then they win without even having to put a shot on goal. That's that's a roller coaster of emotions for that fan base, and very much like just trying to figure things out. On the other hand, LA
They got 3
Galaxy,
points
like,
out of that, though.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's okay, like we'll take it. LA Galaxy, what are you doing? What are we doing out here? Like, Ryan, I saw a stat. I think they have the second worst start to a season in MLS history, I believe, behind Colorado Rapids in 2019, and they have tied. Depending, we'll see what happens next game, but right now they are tied for the worst. I think it was worst start for a defending champion, with 0 wins in their first 11 matches. So we shall see. Once again, the story continues next week, right? Next week.
Luke Orishano versus LA Galaxy.
Do we put it out
His
every
goal?
week until one of them does it, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, week 2 now that we've talked about the Galaxy, and included in the card, but like you can't win MLS Cup and then you still haven't won a game like at all. It's brutal, especially against Kansas City. We felt like that was your chance.
yeah.
Oh man, I just thought it was hilarious though that shout out I guess to KC for winning without even getting a shot on target. But as a fan, Sam,
Oh my gosh, that would drive me crazy.
can you be at this game and like we didn't have a single shot on goal?
You're like, man,
and
that
then
was
the other team
that was
had one
exhilarating.
shot on goal. Like, where was the game played? In the middle? Throw-ins? The whole game?
Is what it is.
Yeah. But hey, KC gets the World Cup game next year, so that's a different conversation.
They deserve it. They deserve it. Yeah.
Different conversation. Good fan base overall, but interesting. They also did play their game at Arrowhead against Messi last year.
They did.
Just saying. Another sellout club for that. Call them out. Columbus and
We're
KC.
taking shots. We're taking shots at Galaxy, Sporting KC.
Flipping sides. Jersey swap of the week. Not many to choose from here, but
yeah. Miles Robinson's going to be my jersey swap of the week. I mean, he played solid in this match. He had the most interceptions, blocks, clearances in the game. So defensively, he put up the statistics. He led FC Cincinnati with 12 passes into the final third. So he was really trying to push the ball up. Unfortunately, I think he had like 81% pass completion. So a little bit off there, but once again, I think he led FC Cincinnati in touches too. So when you're having that many touches in the back and Ryan, you're trying to get things going and trying to work it out of the back, you're gonna have moments of that. But yeah, I thought Miles was pretty solid out of the center backs that played, the 90 minutes, if you will. And ever since he came back from injury, he's been pretty solid all around.
yeah, I mean, that was a good shout. I thought, honestly, if it wasn't from, what I'm going to tell you guys about mine, I thought Miles was one of the decent ones in the back and serviceable when he was asked to, especially in like one-on-one moments when he had to recover. He had another really outstanding recovery on a breakaway that they had. We saw that, I think, against Benteke as well. Still, I'm upset about that guy that said like he doesn't have like closing speed and that he was like too slow. Like Miles is like pretty quick. And so he had a great match in this one. He's just been kind of like quiet with how he's done it, but has just been serviceable.
Yeah.
So can't be mad about that. Like we were saying, there's not many other ones that we could really shout out from this, but Sam, my jersey swap for this week was Roman Celentano. I'm going to say because he had, some pretty good saves in the first half that kept us in it. He does get a little bit of luck from the woodwork there, but hey, that's what you need as a goalkeeper sometimes. Unfortunately, he lets the one in. There's nothing that he can really do about that one. I felt like he did decent. If that's really where I'm going to, that's kind of sad to tell you that like there's nobody really else on the field that I thought played great. But
no, I mean,
give my flowers.
Like we've talked about all season. He's been put in these honestly like one-on-one situations and done very, very well.
Good shout.
I mean, there have been lapses where I think they get the best of him, sometimes, but I think I don't know how you would statistically, track this down, but I want to say he's probably defended or blocked at least like 75% of the one-on-ones this season. I feel like that'd be like a good
Yeah, we could
benchmark there.
stat. He had a kick save on a nice one too. That was like almost like a one-on-one. So
Yeah.
that saved us as well. I'm gonna throw a curveball at you here with an honorable jersey swap if you
Oh,
want to
jeez.
hear it. Is gonna be Harry Kane finally won his first trophy in 15 years of playing professional soccer. This guy played for Tottenham. He's played all over. He's now at Bayern Munich. He finally won his first trophy, Sam, after 15 seasons. And I think him and Eric Dyer, I think, over at Bayern there together was celebrating because they were just like, man, we got some trophies. Or a
I think
trophy.
it's even funnier the fact that this was the second attempt, if you will, right? Like the game before, he was up in the box, right? And what was it? Leverkusen came back, right,
Oh
and
yeah.
tied the game, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go down to the field," when they were winning, and goes down to the field and pretty much like jinxes them, right? So I thought that was funny, but then you see once again, captain Thomas Muller just telling the fans like, "Don't worry, like we've got another game, like we're gonna win the league." So, yeah, I mean, shout out to Harry Kane getting the monkey off of his back, if you will. Is he still wearing those the Skechers cleats?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
Do you
I'm not
remember you
sure on
remember
that.
that ad from like a couple
Yeah,
years ago? It was like Skechers cleats. What's going on with these?
I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know if I would ever rock the Skechers, but
Hey, but
uh,
they're all slip-ons though. Come on, these days they're all slip-ons.
maybe, maybe. Sam, we do have some FC Cincinnati 2 action coming up for everyone to I guess not attend even. It's on the road, but FC
No.
FC Cincinnati 2 is playing Chicago Fire 2, 3 p.m. on Friday, kind of a weird time. But we now are 14th, I believe, in the East. But some teams have already played 8 matches. We've had 6 players that have played in all 6 matches, though. So looking for a little bit more consistency, maybe a little bit more consistent results. They only played 3 games, though, in May. Very opposite of what the first team did.
Yeah. Yeah, so after this game, we'll talk about it in the coming weeks, right? But after this game, they've got the crew match. So it's crazy the amount of games that they have for May. I know, looking at us, Ryan, if you want to roll into it, we've got seven total matches for May to FCC 2's only 3.
Yeah, the first team has got a lot going on this month. Like, okay, we already played NYCFC, Austin at home, Toronto away, Columbus away, Atlanta away, all in a row, Dallas at home, and DC United at home. So some tough stretches there. I feel like, if you want to look at like May historically being a good month, like that's what we're gonna hopefully, ride. But that's a lot of decent competition, I would say, and interesting matchups there. So hey, can we hit our stride, during this run? Can we get some guys back healthy? Hopefully, again, we get Bucha back. We'll talk about it here for Austin match a little bit in a second. Before we do, though, Sam, I just wanted to comment on the fact that the East has just been the beast this year. 4 out of the top 10 teams in the Supporters Shield are in the Eastern Conference. Once again, like it's up for grabs, I think, year out of year now. Like the East is dominating the MLS. Okay, I know
Yeah,
LA Galaxy won last year in the Cup, but like it's way more competitive. I feel like the Wild West is so true. The East has just been like, okay, wild in the sense that there's such good competition. It's just it's not comparable though.
yeah. Does the does the East give you like SEC vibes, right? From
But
like college basketball this past year of like so many good teams that they're just gonna knock each other out, and that hopefully there's an FC Cincinnati standing on the top at the end of the year. But in the West, you get I think it's just one outlier, right? Every year that you'll get, right? LA Galaxy, LAFC usually that is able to make it to MLS Cup, or at least like make it I guess tough for the East squad. But
But
yeah,
I look at every competition we play, like there's not an easy game. Like, okay,
no.
Montreal, maybe Toronto, but like there's not like an easy one where you can just say like man, we got this in the bag. Like even going to NYCFC, it's like
Yeah,
there's
it was
always
like,
something with
yeah.
some of these like squads, and whether it's like, Red Bulls with the history, NYCFC with where we have to play, like there's always these little storylines, but it makes it fun to cover and to kind of look at in the matchups and how that's created. But at the same time, it's like, man, we've kind of caught fire when everybody else has now caught fire, in the East year after year now. And it's like, I think it's kind of cool in the same sense that everyone is trying to like outdo each other, though. It keeps that competition alive and exciting. Like, I would hate to see like, okay, it's obviously I'm biased, but big markets, just dominate. In other, let's say Bundesliga, you see Bayern wins again. How many years in a row? Okay, Leverkusen last year, but prior to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
10
yeah.
or 11, I think in a row. Or in Italy, like you have your top 4 teams. But I mean, realistically, like there's been such a wide range, of teams that have been able to kind of do it, that even like in a off year last year where like Galaxy can go in and then they're terrible this year. Where else does that happen in the world? That a team that just won has to dismantle their team because of the rules, essentially. And it's just, I think it's wild.
But yeah, I think, there's always like two sides to each of these things, right? If you want to talk Prem and, Italia, PSG in Paris, right? Being like the outlier over there, right? Some people are like, man, this sucks. Like we give the little guys a chance, we love when, and you look at the MLS and that's exactly what it is. But then you have people in the MLS that are going, man, I wish this was a lot different. And I wish, there weren't as many regulations and all this. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? How much competition do you want and who do you want competing? But yeah, in the MLS, if your team's set up the right way, you should be competing for a top 3 finish in either conference in like 3 years, right? Like every 3 years, there's at least right that like window. So
Well, and it doesn't feel like insurmountable to go from being terrible to being great
oh
in
yeah, absolutely.
2 windows, I mean, and even like for teams that are, I think the only thing I would say is like for teams that are fringe and then they add somebody like mid-season, you don't really have a ton of time to like perfect your team from like what you can add. Like you could, in the Prem, like with the January transfer window, you have like 3 or 4 months after. In MLS, you have like 8 or 9 games to like perfect that and get that
Yeah.
right. And you really have to kind of hit your stride in the right time. And then that's the way that we determine a champion here, or what we consider as, the best team. But, and I think that furthers the conversation of like why to be successful in this league, like the Supporter Shield should even be looked at even more,
Longevity.
especially if you
yeah.
look how much better each team has been. You can talk about, okay, it's not a balanced schedule, this and that, but like essentially we're playing the the best teams in the East here. Maybe we'll play a few, in the West, but like a lot of the best teams have been out of the East in the last few years. So I just wanted to touch on that just in seeing like, again, how many competitive teams there are, how much kind of shift there is week to week, even in the standings. We're now, 11 games into the season, and you see 2 points that separate like almost everyone. There's not a huge gap unless you look at obviously the very, very bottom, but in the middle, it's very tight.
Yep. And we're facing a team in the middle here.
We are,
This next
yeah.
game.
Good lead way in, Sam. So,
Hey.
match day number 12. We are playing Austin at home. First time for Austin to come to TQL. Welcome, Matthew McConaughey, FC. That's what I'm just gonna call him. But hey, what do you think about him coming to TQL for this match?
I mean, I hope he comes, right? He usually goes to away matches when he can. So hopefully I haven't checked if it's gonna be great weather or not. Maybe like I think it might be
it's
like
supposed to be nice.
72 and sunny. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, little Matthew McConaughey. Maybe he gets a little taste of what the Bailey's like. I know he likes to go over and rev up the Austin FC, home supporters a lot. So maybe we'll see him in the away supporters section. Who knows? But yeah, I think Ryan, once again, coming into this week, we've got more question marks of like, who are we going to see? Who are we going to see fully healthy? Is somebody going to take a knock midweek again? How serious is Bucha's injury? Stuff like that.
Yeah, good points. We just get Obi back for a sub appearance, lose him. He's not even on the 18, this week. So it's like hard to predict week to week, but like we've just seen, we need one of the two at least, I would argue, and obviously I'm going to say Bucha just for what we've said before. Anunga's just been so serviceable in there. And I think like you just need better passing progression, better passes in general, clean up the sloppiness. Austin's got a pretty solid squad, Sam. They're sixth in the West, but they've lost their last 3 out of 5. They did get Robert Taylor actually from Miami here recently as well, another attacker. In addition to our boy BV, Brandon Vasquez, second time back at TQL as the away, player.
First time in the MLS. Yeah.
First time in the MLS. Yeah. Monterey. He actually did score in TQL. He's not going to score this Saturday. I don't believe it. You better believe he's going to be coming out hot, and you better believe Hags is going to lock him up. Him and Matt are going to be putting the clamps on. They're good friend, but yeah, I think Austin's attack, they spent like 30-something million, this offseason. And if you look at one of the teams in the West that's really kind of changed, they have a new manager, they have all of this new attack. They've been able to kind of put those pieces together in some ways, but they're still looking at 6th in the East, Sam. So did they really put it together or not? Like, that's the question. So, and I'm hoping they still are searching more for those answers in this match. So, it's always kind of an interesting battle when we play these West teams. You never really know, like, what are we going to get into or not. I think they're a pretty quick run and gun team, and I'm just hoping, like, can we bring a little bit more of the press back? We lost it a little bit against NYCFC. We didn't really have a coordinated press. Obviously, playing on a narrow pitch, it's different. But I think back at home, feed off the energy, feed off hopefully some good weather. And then just like saying, like, man, we're upset about how that last game was. We did not like how that was. We're a winning team. We had 5 in a row prior to that. Let's get back to winning. And
yeah, and I think that the past couple of seasons we've seen FCC play pretty darn well against.
I was going to say against the Western Conference.
Western Conference, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Hopefully, the trend continues and we're able to dominate against Austin.
Sam, 4-3-3, or are we going 5 in the back in this one? Is it dependent on the health of Bucha?
I don't know if it's based on Bucha. I would say more of just that conversation. Maybe Matt's watching film, right? And he sees himself during that, 12th minute PK where he's like, man, like I don't look good, like, I can be better. And, I'm sure Pat's sitting next to him going like, I know you got more in you. Like, I know it, like, just leave it out on the field and trust me when you retire, when you're long, maybe in a coaching career or something, like, you won't have to look back and go, man, I really didn't put it all out there. But I think Ryan, honestly, probably stay 5 in the back, just to give Matt some comfortability there. But the question is does anybody come out at half? Because like I can't remember the last time that we kept like a back line. Now, of course, like wing backs will come out, a lot. But when's the last time that we had 3 center backs stay, the entire game?
Yeah, it's been several matches. That's a good point. Luckily, in the ones before, it hadn't, come back to bite us in the butt too bad. But yeah, I think consistency for sure. Like throughout the whole match, like that plays into it, and you're getting more comfortability like as the games go on, but then you switch it up at the end. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think also if you look at like run of form, like I think he's got to really look at some of the players and say like, how can we put our best foot forward? How can I send a message to people? I'm going to say it, Sam. You're going to see Dado or you're going to see Santos, one of the two, start in this match. And I think they're going to put Luka on the bench for this one. I'm going to go out and say it. I don't know if Maybe I'm completely wrong on this, but I think at some point you got to send a message, and maybe you see an impact of him off the bench.
So what you're saying, you almost see the case where if Orshana starts on the bench, do you then have Pat experiment with putting him at right wing back and take Yedlin out?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see like a spark, maybe, but he's just so talented. There's so many things that he can do. You're playing at home. Maybe that's the time for him to even catch stride again. We just have like seen it over and over and over, and it's like at some point, do we have to do something different? And I think they tried to do that in Chicago, and you see him come in and he played well. So yeah, it's tough, and I don't know. Like, do you think like connection with Evander and Denke too as well? Like in this game, do you see a little bit more of that?
I mean, you hope every single game, but game after game, they're on like their own islands, right? They're playing as individuals and not as
I just remember you bringing up, like, even to me was like service, getting the ball to Denke, getting him in dangerous positions. Like, how can we get the best out of those two? We're still trying to kind of find that, and like I said, to even have like one assist between the two of them, like we're yet to have that, and we've had pretty decent success. So if you can get them firing on all cylinders, like I think we've seen a lot more success when you've had a second striker, and Luka drifts out wide. He's not really staying up as that other striker there. Sergio, has really kind of pushed back lines and has been better with our press. And
that's how we've created goals this season.
I'm wondering almost, if they kind of ride that in this one and see how it goes, just to say, hey,
good shout. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder. I don't know. Interesting to see it. They're kind of keeping us game by game, at bay on what's going to happen. But Sam, I think we can close this one out here. I want to give you our question. But before we do, I guess we could shout it out on predictions.
Yeah. Ooh, jeez. 2-0. I think 2-0. I think it's a statement win.
Statement win, FCC 2-0 at home. I'm going to go 2-2. I'm going to go with a tie at home. I think it'll be a well-fought match. I think I really want to win. I want to keep this up. But yeah, I think realistically after this one, like, I just haven't seen enough to say like everyone I'm feeling is confident. So 2-2 for me. Our question from earlier, though, what is the longest unbeaten streak at home in FC Cincinnati history to start the season? Did you lock in, I think, 16?
Yep.
So you had the year. 2023 was the year. We actually had 13 matches in a row at home in MLS play. If you want to look at all competitions, it was 17 if you want to the U.S. Open Cup as well. So pretty solid year. I mean, obviously with winning Supporters Shield, but in MLS play, 13 matches in a row unbeaten. Right now, Sam, 2025, we have 5 in a row in the MLS and then 7 unbeaten at home, including CONCACAF Champions Cup. So solid run. Can we make it 8? Keep building. We're doing some things at home there. Our away record's been okay.
Building the fortress.
But that's right, man. 3 points at home. That's all we can ask for. I hope everyone shows up, is loud, ready to go for this one. I hope the players can feel the energy and the support and the love. We'll get it back. I think we're going to get a positive result. I know I said a tie, but
positive result though. You're asking for 1 point. Give me a positive result. That's all I'm asking for.
Positive result. Exactly. Thanks again for everyone for listening. Hopefully our audio was a little bit better this week than last. Apologize again for the vacation week there, but we'll be back with you guys next week. And thanks again for joining.